Welcome to Empowered by AI. I'm Michelle Nutzi Silva. This podcast is for women building what's next and using AI with intention. In Season 6, you'll hear from founders, educators, creatives, and builders who are actually using AI to think better, work smarter, and move with intention. We're learning from conversations about readiness, literacy, and taking action, because every episode gives you ideas you can use immediately. Let's get into it. Okay, we have Ricquel Harper with us today. I would love it if you would introduce yourself to everyone, and then we're going to dive in.
Awesome, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. Well, I'm going to do a quick introduction because I'm not one to really talk about myself. Um, but like you said, my name is Ricquel Harper, and I'm just really enthusiastic about AI. And when I started this journey about now it's been 6 years. It pulled me deeper and deeper because I started noticing how beneficial it is, but looking at what can I do and what can I bring to make this something that is useful to a lot of people. And that's when I took on this role of the ethical side, AI. And that led me down the rabbit hole of really exploring what is ethical AI. And so, coming from an investment banking background where I did a lot of compliance and marketing, I transferred that to AI in the sense of I want to make sure that people are using it responsibly and that it's those who it's serving, it's also representing them in an ethical way. That led me to the path of becoming an ethical AI specialist, and I've termed myself the alchemist of ethical AI. And I'm just on a mission through She is AI to spread that across the world and be a voice and hold a space like you do with your platform for those who are normally underrepresented to have a face, have a voice, not only in AI, but in other things that are advancing our world. So that's what I do. That's my mission, whether it's advising organizations, individuals, corporations, or being an author for thought pieces, creating courses. It's all around the lens of what is ethical AI and how can we make sure that we're using AI in a responsible.
And what is exciting to you right now, or what concerns you the most when you're considering women and communities that have been historically overlooked?
What excites me is that the communities that have been historically overlooked, I see are the communities that are more excited about AI. So I see a lot more people speaking up and using the tools to change that narrative of saying, hey, you're not going to build it for us, then we're going to find a way to insert ourselves in it because AI has made what AI has done has made other things that may have been a barrier to entry, like people creating apps or websites. The AI has made that easier for them to do. So now they're immersing themselves in it and like saying, well, I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to figure out how to do this. And I'm going to figure out how to do this. So that's what truly excites me is that whether it's a creative side or whether it's I see what's wrong with it, let me try to hack it and fix it and then show you what I can create. So you're saying, oh, well, those images, this is what we say is beautiful. Well, let me show you what I say is beautiful. So that's what really excites me, is that even though a lot of us are being kind of left out, we are saying, hey, no more. So we're going to do what's right, whether it's women having podcasts about highlighting women AI or She is AI, the platform is saying, hey, this is what we're doing. We're bringing a lens to that. That's
Right.
what
And
really excites me.
yeah. And what about the concern?
The concern is definitely the lack of guardrails. And I think because of that excitement, and I say that's more on a governance policy scale, where you look at like the EU AI Act and how different countries and different regions, everyone has a different, their priorities, I would say, are different globally when it comes to AI. You have those countries who are like, they want to be the first in everything. So they're like, we don't care what the issue is, what the harm is. We just need to get it out there first so we can grow, grow, grow. So that first market. So they're just like, whatever, we don't care. Then there are the ones who are like, we want to make sure that people are protected and their privacy is protected. So there's not a unified consensus on setting up universal policy on how AI is deployed, how it's built, how it's used. So that's what really concerns me, because everyone has different incentives and there's no agreement. And basically, if there's no agreement, it can be harmful in some areas, and other regions say, hey, we're going to align with it, but still because this region doesn't care, there's still the harmful impact. So that lack
Mhm.
of kind of a consensus around guardrails. And then
Yeah.
also, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. No, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say also that builds into the lack of representation and that invisibility that still exists within, because a lot of these are tech companies, within the ranks of having women and people of color who generally are the ones who can detect if there's a bias or something, or who also look at the long-term impact within a community and are more concerned about that, as opposed to the speed and the profit and getting things. Like, we have more of like a humanity community type thing of like, hey, what's going to be the long-term risk and gains? We can't just look at the gains. Let's also look at the risks, so we can kind of build that in at the beginning so we don't have to worry about it.
And we're living an example of that right now in California, where I'm based. We have an awareness that there is extreme bias, for example, in AI used for hiring practices.
Yeah.
So what California has chosen to do is to hold accountable the small business that is using the AI tool, not the AI tool itself.
Mhm.
So to me, that is a disconnect between
Yeah.
where we need to be really putting our focused efforts. Where do you see the biggest disconnect between AI innovation? We want the innovation, we want the thinking, but then there's this reality of AI as a lived experience. And so I'm seeing this disconnect right now between where we're holding accountability versus where I think we should be holding accountability. Where do you see disconnect happening?
I see the disconnect in how you were saying, within the AI organizations, the AI companies. So like the OpenAI, the Anthropics, the Meta, where they're saying, oh, we're building this and we're trying to make sure it's representative for all. But look within your organizations. Who are the people who are building this? Who are the teams? They all look alike. So how can they detect a bias for one group when there's no group representation and you're not getting input from from whatever communities that the end user, the communities that where this is being deployed, you have no input from the pre-building stage. And that's where the true disconnect is that there's that lack of diversity within the rooms, within those boardrooms, within those executive rooms, within those building rooms, of the original part of, okay, now let's go wireframe. How are we going to build this? What's our plan? When you have people who come from all similar backgrounds, you really can't head finance terms.
Yeah. Let him in. Let him in.
You can't really hedge those things because you don't have that set of eyes or that those individuals who have those lived experiences to be able to detect that. Like if we think of the training data from what all the training data that they were originally trained, the LLMs were originally trained on, a lot of it was bias. If there was a diverse group of eyes reviewing that, they probably definitely would have detected more of that at the beginning instead of on the back end having to go back, oh, let's go back and fix this.
And your She Is AI magazine article title says it all. AI can't see us, but we see everything wrong with it.
Exactly.
So for listeners that are feeling that tension, but don't yet have the language for it, how do you help people name what feels off without shutting down or disengaging? Because as you said, we need them involved in the conversation.
Yeah, I feel you. And I think there are two parts when people I see as two things when people don't voice their concern. One is that they don't feel confident in voicing it. A lot of women don't feel confident. And some of us, that's a lesson we had to learn. That's what I had to learn in my investment banking trading floor days where I'm in a room of men, but I'm like, if I want to be seen, I had to learn to speak up. And then the other side there becomes a point of exhaustion where you're just like talking and talking and talking, and then you don't see the change. So then those are people you're like, you know what? I'm throwing up my hands. I've voiced it and I'm just exhausted because we're not feeling heard or understood or seen. For me, it's that we have to keep speaking up. We have to keep speaking up, or we have to keep using the tools and finding a way to hack them ourselves. And then if it works for us, then getting it out there and teaching it to others. Because a lot of times you see when the grassroots community starts doing something and it picks up traction and it's like, oh, well, hey, this is how I do it. This is how I got to work. Then they start to take notice. That's when they start to take notice. A lot of times they'll think, oh, because we may, and I'm not to knock degrees because I have quite a few of we have the PhD in this, we have this, so we know better and all. But then if people are using it and saying that doesn't work, and they say, okay, you don't want to listen to this after we voiced it, which where that frustration comes in. So then you know what? We'll go build our own, or we'll stop like the like what we've seen with boycotts. And then people finally companies started to listen and take point of it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we see that this matters. So we need to follow this. We need to get on board with this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so many creators are starting to voice what they're looking for. And
Mhm.
you talk a lot about archetypes and you talk about how they matter more now than ever, especially when so much of that content feels generic or flattened out or made to sound like a different identity than the person that's using it. So, how do you encourage people to capitalize on archetypes and why that matters to create their authentic identity?
I think for me, archetypes for me is something that I used long before AI. It's how I learned how to write, and especially within marketing. That was part when we were in finance, and I had to market to different groups and understanding what did I resonate with? Like, what does my voice sound like? How do I want to come across? Do I want to come across as the nurturer, where in certain audiences, I may have to come across as a nurturer, or do I want to come across as the visionary, the innovator, and the age of AI, of like thinking, okay, if you have especially advising small businesses, is like, what's your vision? What's your goal? You have to have that visionary archetype or that strategic archetype to like say, okay, this is my vision, this is my goal. And then the other part is looking at the audience. And so if I think of kind of the She Is AI audience, and I'm thinking about it and I'm saying, okay, this is all about uplifting the voices of women and uplifting underrepresented voices. And what what is it that I want to kind of embed in them, have them embody? And I want them to have that wisdom. So for me, that's a sage archetype. And then, that wisdom of like, you have the knowledge, you have the ability to transform into whatever you want to. Like, you have that knowledge. So pull upon that knowledge to pull yourself up, to pull yourself to that level of leadership that you want to be. So for me, using archetypes, you don't have to guess how your voice will come across in writing with the models, because they all understand like the archetypes, and especially 12 main ones. There are tons of others. If you plug it into a language model and say, hey, use the sage archetype or use the sage and creator archetype, then it understands that since it was trained, and it can come and create that output in that language.
And from your perspective, what would be the difference between outsourcing your voice to AI and co-creating with it in a way that actually is like building that authenticity?
So I I co-create with my all my AI models. So for me, it's the assigning, say, Chat GPT a persona. So what I would do is like, I sit there, I'm like, okay, well, whatever piece I'm working on or project I'm working on, first of all, who are you? What's your role? If it's like consulting for a business, okay, or you're a business strategist in what? Marketing, finance. So bringing that, so giving it a role, and then thinking about what I'm working on and how do I present myself? Am I the one, again, oh, I have to be a caregiver because I may be working with a client who's doing work with nursing homes. So they're in a caregiver mentality, or I may be working with a client who has med spas. So that's a different archetype. And so when I think of it, I put that persona in there of saying, you are this brand strategist or you are this marketing expert of this, and you have this experience, and you use a tone, sorry, that's direct yet warm. And you follow the archetypes of strategist and innovator and caregiver, combination of that. And this is what your archetype is. This is your persona. And that's how I co-create. So I know that it will read out the way that I would say it myself. And then I may include some quotes that I normally use. I may include some things that I've written in there so it sees my voice and recognizes my voice. And then from there, what it gives me, I review it. And that's how since I started working like 6 years ago, how I've been able to use AI to get it to write in the tone that sounds like me.
And what do you feel like there are one or two red flags that someone's brand or content is misaligned when viewed through that ethical or archetypal lens?
I would say if it's misaligned, if when you're reading it, it doesn't feel like you in your body. If you read it and you're like, oh, that sounds good. I never would have thought to say that. Yeah, it sounds good. So if you never, it sounded a lot. So
This bet I would have come up with. Hang on a second.
no, it's so I mean that's a major thing of like when you read it out loud, does it sound like you? Can you like hear your voice saying that? Does it resonate with you in that sense? And then also, I think another thing is if you're thinking when you're having conversations with clients or trusted friends, does it sound like how you communicate with them
Mhm.
in your natural state? Does it sound like you natural? If it doesn't, it's not aligned. I mean, sometimes when I receive my outputs and it's a funny story because sometimes I'll say something if for instance, I was working on something for a friend and I was helping them edit something and I blocked it in there. And my chat GPT came back and said, hey, this doesn't really sound like you. Do you want me to add in? I'm like, oh, what?
Really trained it.
I'm like, okay, that problem. So so my chats for Chat GPT and even Claude come back and say, hey, no, because I trained them so trained them so long.
What are we talking about here?
What are you talking about? I'm like, oh no, this is for this. So let me, work in this other chat and things. Yeah. So
I love it. I love it. You've really trained it well. Can you share your screen and walk us through this a simple exercise that we can try out? I would love to train mine as good as you've trained yours.
oh gosh, let's see. I wasn't prepared to do that. I will. Let's see.
It could be through an ethical or an archetype activity, something that the listeners can try out after the episode, kind of like, does this feel aligned?
Sure. Let me just close some things here and I will pull up. I actually have a prompt. One of the prompts that I shared just in the She is AI Summit that we just had in DC. Awesome. So I can share one of those and walk people through that. Because I think that would be fun. And then I'm also happy to share that with your group as well. Just give me a moment to Well,
No worries.
I'll have those.
You are totally okay.
Um, okay, here we go. What we
You should be able to share your screen.
actually okay. So I'll share my screen up now.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to show you. Let me know. Okay, can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay,
You
so
are an archetype guide. That's what I see.
yes, so this is a prompt that I created that I share that this is a beginner prompt that would help someone discover their archetype. Okay. So I just dropped it in a Google Doc here. So what you can do is you can just copy the whole thing and you have your chat window open and then you just drop it in there and it takes you through Asher. So 3 values that matter most to you. So tell me 3 bad values that matter most to you, Michelle. And we'll
Integrity, authenticity, and how would you say being a listener? How would you, what language do I need to have for that? Maybe I just need to say being a listener.
for good listener, attentive listener. So,
Yeah. Attentive listener.
okay. Now, how do people describe you when you are at your best?
I believe they say welcoming. They say, what was the, I got a compliment after I facilitated a moment, and they said that they felt heard and then they felt connected, that I had the ability to connect them to the event. I remember somebody saying that, and that just touched my heart. Oh,
Okay. And then what qualities or energy feel natural and true to you?
I would say a creative energy, planning feels natural to me, collaboration feels natural to me.
And what motivates you when you create, lead, or support others?
I think like-minded people that I can synthesize with, that gives me energy like nobody's business.
What feels most aligned about how you show up?
I'm not sure what that means. What feels most aligned?
So when you're showing up in, like, for instance, when you said you hosted or facilitated the event, when you show up, is it more aligned for you to show up as how you said, the planner or someone who's leading the event, the speaker, or just to sit back and listen?
I like facilitating moments.
Okay.
I think it's that interaction
The
that
interaction.
really, yeah, the
When
interaction.
you're connecting and interacting.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for helping me see that.
Good. What kind of impact do you hope your presence has on others?
I always say that we are better together. So I hope that I was able to facilitate a moment that led to a better reality.
That was the last question. Yes. So
Alright.
that was the last question. So this is what it pulled out. So your core personal archetype is the weaver.
Okay.
And why this is your core archetype is because everything you name points to connection as a living act, not a concept. You value integrity and authenticity, which means you connect matters and matters how you connect. How you connect matters as much as
That you
that you connect. And at your best, people feel welcome, heard, connected, your natural energies. The weaver does not seek attention. The weaver creates alignment. You make connection feel inevitable and safe. Your supporting archetype is the listener. And why this supports your core is because what you name, So then it goes on to give you 3 ways to embody this archetype in your work and life. Speak in bridges, not conclusions, where you're saying, what I am hearing is, let's build on that. Here's how these ideas connect. And we need to design spaces where connection happens organically, whether in meeting workshops or like how you are facilitating, what comes of how you like to facilitate and lead through an attunement and not authority, where you don't need to be the loudest voice. And I see that you hold space, like with your platform, you're holding space for others to have their voice.
This is so fun.
Yeah, so I can share that with you, but it's just a way to play around. And then there are other steps. Well, how can you transfer this and translate this into your personal brand language and things and map it and stuff like that.
I love that because it's another angle for you to reflect on yourself and really think about, because so often we don't, who am I? What do I do? I've lived with myself for 50 lot of years. So it's like, I don't necessarily know how to tease all that out, but this really helps. So I love this.
Yeah, yeah. And the other part about it is that now that you know this, you can also use it to help you say, once you to figure out your audience archetype and then you can combine these to say, given that I am the weaver and listener, how should I market to this type of archetype or this type of archetype? So your core, and I'm going to stop share now so that you can see. So your core archetype of who you are always, and it remains the same as the weaver, the listener. And however, what this allows you to do is now to say, hey, using my archetype, my brand as the weaver and listener, tell me how to craft this message so it can connect to someone who's a rebel archetype.
I love to see myself as a rebel. That'd be fun, but I don't think I am, apparently. I would love to be. What honestly,
like I'll share it with you, and then because it may be an exercise where you want to explore more and just really, we did it on here and it's rush, but this is something that I would sit and really think on as you're like, how I said, feel it, what feels, what do you, when you say, okay, does that feel good to me? Does that sound good? Am I embodying that? And then maybe go through the questions again.
Yeah. Yeah. This would be really fun to play around with at length, for sure.
Yeah, it does. This is how I can go down rabbit holes at the beginning of my journey. And I would just enjoy playing with the archetypes and saying, oh, this is me, and see, and which I moved my bar over a bit, but depending on, like I said, the work that I'm doing, I have my archetypes, but they may show up different based on the audience for the work that I'm doing.
Yes. Well, for this audience, if they want to connect with you and they want to get to know you a little bit better, where are they going to go to touch base with you?
They can touch me on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn. They can reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I just responded to 3 messages today from people who actually had reached out after they watched the recording of the SheIsAI Summit.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, this is important stuff. So I'm feeling people are going to continue to reach out to you. Oh, thank you so much, Ricquel, for giving us a slice of this and letting us play with you and learn from you. We are all the better for it.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Can't wait to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've been listening to Empowered by AI, and I'm your host, Michelle Muncy Silva. If something from this episode clicked, don't let it stop here. Take one idea and try it out this week. And if you want to go deeper, head over to the Empowered by AI, the Slay Effect YouTube channel, where you can watch demos and walkthroughs from our guests today and so many others. Subscribe and join us there so you don't miss out on what's coming next. All the links and resources are in the show notes. I'll see you next time.